What's going on, New York Giants fans? Hit Squad back at it with another video. Giants fall 23-16 to the Dallas Cowboys. We go to 2-1. Um, brutal loss. Brutal loss. We got quite a bit to talk about. But before we do, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, join the Hit Squad, leave a like as well as your thoughts below, and follow us on Twitter. The link will be in the description box. Um, Going into this game, in my last video, we had Tony Goat Romo, who's a super, super big Dallas Cowboys fan on, and we were breaking down the pregame. And, we were talking about how we felt that this game was going to come down to the trenches. This game was going to come down to which quarterback can make the fewest mistakes and what team can capitalize on their opportunities. And ultimately, the Giants couldn't. I thought that Daniel Jones played a very good game. I know that his, numbers don't really say that. 20 for 37, 196 passing yards, one interception. You have 9 carries for 79 yards. So if you just look at that on paper, it doesn't really look impressive. But when you look at the circumstances and you look at what the kid had to deal with, not having Kenny Galladay on the field that much, and when he wasn't catching balls. We'll speak about Kenny Galladay in a little bit. You also have, on top of that, the offensive line not playing very well. I know that there was things that Daniel Jones, I'm sure he's going to want to take back, when they look at the film. But I think that when you look at Daniel Jones overall in this game, he left it out on the field. I mean, I thought that he had a very solid game. I liked seeing him, even when he was evading, the rush and trying to create a play, he was always looking downfield. And I really liked that. Small tidbits, stuff like that with your QB, I really liked. Again, I thought that there was things in this game that Daniel Jones did well, but ultimately he was let down by his teammates outside of Saquon Barkley and Andrew Thomas. I thought that Saquon Barkley, he looked good. Obviously, you would want to see him get more involved in the run game. I'm sure that Kafka and crew, when they look at the film, maybe that's an adjustment they make next week. But I thought the Giants should have ran the ball a lot more. Again, Saquon Barkley, he's looking like his former self as a rookie. I mean, he's looking crisp. He is running with confidence. He is running with rage. 14 carries for 81 yards and one touchdown. That touchdown was a masterpiece run. I mean, it was just precision cutting. And in my opinion, I mean, kid is special. We all know that what he can do on the field when he's healthy is next to none. And I got to give credit to Saquon and Daniel Jones for stepping up because in a game where the Giants should have won this game and ultimately they didn't, they came to play. They came to play, and I got to give credit to where credit is due. I also liked from Daniel Jones that he got the ball out pretty quick. Granted, I understand that the pressure was in his face almost every play, but I liked how Kafka was drawing up plays to get the ball out of his hands quickly and into his playmakers so that they can go and get extra yards. I really like to see it. I actually want to see that a little bit more going forward, and I think that we will. But again, solid game, but ultimately it wasn't enough. I thought Azeez Ojulari, he looked really good today. We saw him just causing chaos in the first half. He was getting penalties after penalties. And he was just causing havoc for the Dallas offensive line. I mean, he gets two holding penalties. He gets one false start in the first half. I mean, he was having the offensive line just running in circles. Now, in my opinion, I think in the second half, the New York Giants, they seemed a little bit gassed on the defensive side. They weren't really getting to the quarterback. They weren't really putting the pressure on Cooper Rush. He was really having this way. I also thought that the presence of Leonard Williams was missed. You saw Dallas take advantage of that. That's actually something that me and Tony Goat Romo also spoke about in our pregame video. That Leonard Williams, he plays a very, very big part in this defense. And I hope that you Giants fans that were banging your chest all off season talking about to get rid of Leonard Williams, you don't understand why he makes the money that he does at the position that he does. I hope you understand today how big of a deal Leonard Williams is to this defense, because the Cowboys don't run the way that they were running on us if Leonard Williams is on the field. I mean, Dexter Lawrence, he can only do so much, but once you get past Leonard Williams and Dexter Lawrence, depth wise, I mean, it's not looking good. It's not. And Leonard Williams' presence, I mean, again, just him being on the field with, he could get to the quarterback. He demands double teams. I mean, he stuffs the run. I mean, those are what you need in these kind of games when you play these kind of teams like Dallas that like to run the ball a lot. I thought that the New York Giants, when it came to the run attack, um, we really weren't good. Tony Pollard was running all over us. Zeke was getting, little chunk yard plays, but we really couldn't stop the run. And again, I think that also ties into Leonard Williams not being on the field. Now, there's a lot to pick at in this game, right? You look at the offensive line outside of Andrew Thomas, it looked abysmal. Evan Neal, he's a rookie. I'm not gonna really get on him. When you really look at it and when you really think about it, I mean, he's going against Micah, he's going against D Law. I mean, those are good players. And obviously this will be a game that he can learn from, and it's ultimately gonna better him. But this wasn't a good game by him. By any stretch of the means, this was not a good game by him. He was actually quoted by saying that he doesn't believe he's ever had a game in his collegiate career ever like this either. So, it was really rough for Evan Neal today. Mark Lewinsky, John Feliciano were just getting manhandled out there. Just manhandled. And it really showed, because it seemed, again, like every play there was pressure in Daniel Jones's face. And that it was evident. I mean, when you look at it, and this is a cool stat, actually not even a cool stat, but a stat that I heard today. Um, Daniel Jones had a career high 22 pressures on 34 dropbacks. That's insane. That's the most in the NFL so far. That's insane. And to me, I mean, you're going to get this kid hurt again. You cannot have these games where Daniel Jones is taking the hits that he was taking, because I mean, I was nervous for this kid's life, thinking that he was going to have another game similar to what he had last year in Dallas, where he had a concussion, or him with his neck injury that he suffered in Philly. So I was very worried for Daniel Jones. I mean, the interior offensive line was just horrible, horrible. I mean, they have to improve there. You got to imagine that they may be looking at some players on the street, outside of obviously making adjustments. They got to do something there, man, because it just did not look good. Defensively, again, wasn't our best game. Shout out Adoree Jackson. I know that a lot of people may bring up that touchdown that CeeDee Lamb had on him. For the most part, CeeDee Lamb was shut down for the most part of the game. I know that he dropped what probably could have been a touchdown on a busted coverage play, but for me personally, I thought Adoree Jackson had a solid game. That's a play that you really got to give credit to CeeDee Lamb. I mean, that was an excellent play, especially keeping both feet in bounds. Got to give credit to Dallas there. But again, not a good game at the offensive line, not a good game at the defensive line. Again, going back to Evan Neal, he gave up 3 sacks to D Law, who came in, I believe, with no sacks going into this game. So, they had their way with this offensive line, and it really showed. Now, when we look at Kenny Galladay, right? I know a lot of fans, including myself, were very excited when the New York Giants went out and signed him. Obviously, we all know that he's really hasn't been getting any starting time. Just this past week, he came out and pretty much said, he feels he deserves to play, which granted he does. He's making the money that he makes, $72 million man. But, you go out there, you puff your chest, you talk big game, you're demanding time on the field, and then when you get time on the field, you're not making the most of your opportunities. You're dropping balls. You're not catching balls. You're not making, you know, plays that a number one wide receiver, let alone a receiver making $72 million, should be making. So I think Kenny Galladay is gonna get the bad end of the stick from a lot of Giants fans due to that. I mean that drop on 3rd and 13, man. I mean that was brutal. That was brutal, man. And I mean, for me, I'm a huge Galladay fan, but for me, that just kind of that put the nail in the coffin for me. I mean, it really did, because those are the plays that you need to come up with. That's why we pay you the money that you get paid to go and make those plays. That's not on Daniel Jones's fault. That was a perfect ball to your chest. And you had a good yard or two. And if you would have broken maybe one tackle, you are a big wide receiver, you probably would have picked up the first down. You ever thought about that? Probably not. But again, wasn't a good game. Offensively, there was moments where things were clicking. The offense was looking smooth. Bam, bam, bam. Things are looking good, and then it leads to a field goal, or we are getting a holding penalty, or Daniel Jones is taking a sack because the offensive line can't hold up. So it just seemed that when the Giants would take one step forward, we were taking three steps back, and we cannot win games like this. We can't win games like this. The Giants have to score points on the board, and we're just not. We're just not. And that's been an issue since Joe Judge was here, and it has to get fixed. Now, the New York Giants were 2-1. We're going to be facing Chicago this upcoming week in New York. So, personally, I think that that's a game that can be won, but at the same time, they have a good pass rush as well. They have an elusive quarterback who, in my opinion, is an upgrade over Cooper Rush. But similar to us, they don't really have wide receivers. But again, um, there were some things to take from this game. I know that a lot of Giants fans, including myself, were hurt with this one. But at the same time, the season ain't over. That's why we got 17 games. We're only in week 3, about to be in week 4. We got to move on to Chicago and really just keep our heads down, 1 week at a time. But again, Giants really have to look at the tape because it did not look good. On top of that, let me throw this out there as well. Special teams was not looking good today. It hasn't been looking good all season, which is very surprising considering the fact that that was a strong suit for quite some time for the New York Giants with Thomas McGahee. So I'm kind of shocked that, our special teams just has not been good. But it has to improve. I mean, we had a blocked field goal. On top of that, we punt the ball off. Bad coverage, poor tackling. Turpin almost takes it for a touchdown. But this was just a game that the Giants kept beating themselves. And Dallas was giving the Giants the game. Constant penalties on Dallas's end, dropped balls. I mean, Dallas was giving the Giants this game, and they just didn't want it. At the end of the day, that's just what it is. Giants didn't want it. Players didn't show up. I'm glad to see that Daniel Jones and Saquon showed up. It's unfortunate to see. I I know that I'm gonna see some Giants fans still rag on Daniel Jones. You do what you gotta do. Me personally, again, I thought he had a solid game. Obviously, there's things that I want to see improved. But when you look at the circumstances, you look with what the kid's got to deal with, you look at the fact that he has no wide receiver talent that he can throw to. I mean, outside of what, Darius Slayton now? Maybe Tony if he's healthy, but when is that? And I love Kadarius Tony. Y'all know this. I mean, it's brutal, man. It is. But again, it's early in the season, so let's take this week by week. Let us know your thoughts below. How did you guys feel about this loss? What were some things that you saw in this game? Because I'm curious. I really am. The Giants, we can't be playing like this going forward, or else we're going to be picking in that top five again. So definitely got to see some improvements there. But let us know your thoughts below, and we'll see you guys in the next video.